Hello everyone, welcome to Shashi Talks. So today as a guest we have Kira with us. Kira is an international SEO expert and she runs her own agency in UK, that is Diary of an SEO. Kira specializes in international SEO. She knows all the possible things that you need to do to get your website abroad or expand your website on different countries. In this episode, we talked about Hreflang tag. We talked about localization and its importance while doing international SEO. So, not wasting much time in the introduction, let's directly dive into the podcast and let's see what Kira has to say. So yes, let's go. Yes. Hello everyone. Welcome to Shashi Talks. We have Kira with us. Kira is an expert in international SEO. She runs her own SEO agency. More about Kira. Kira, you can go on.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. I am an international SEO specialist and founder of Diary of an SEO on the t-shirt. It's an SEO agency helping businesses really of all shapes and sizes become more visible on Google. But when I travel, so a lot of the things that you would see about me online is the international SEO aspect. And we will probably get into why that is my chosen category of SEO. But that's what I do, and that's what I love to talk about. Hence, I'm here on the wonderful podcast, and I'm really excited to share all my knowledge and discuss some international SEO knowledge bombs as well.
Great. Thank you, Kira, for such a brief introduction. Wanted to start with international SEO itself. How you get into this, and what led you to like work in international SEO? What excites you in international SEO? Let's start with that.
Yeah, of course. I started not so long ago. So it was when I was working for someone else in my hometown in the UK. And we had a client that is a large corporation. They've got multiple websites. So they're targeting, over 90 countries. So it's quite a large scale website. And they came to us and they said, well, what should we do? The website was stagnant. So we were working on the US, so the .com, and the UK websites. But
Okay.
we this is being quite stagnant. What do we want to do about it? And so I just had to manage that whole process, had to do a lot of reading. So really I fell into it. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have much preparation, but I just had to trial theories that I had and all the knowledge that I had. So that was kind of the first entry project, and I found it very interesting. And I found that there's almost an SEO gap in the market because not many people go into international SEO. Plus, the ones that do go into it, a lot of people make mistakes with it, so it's not as granular, not as high quality. And based on my upbringing and my life, I thought, why not bring the person I am with SEO, something I love, and kind of merge it all together. So that was kind of the journey with it, and that's what I do now. So you asked what I enjoy about it, the culture. I'm a
Okay.
very big traveler. I love going to any country, really. If anyone says, "Oh, you should go to this place," I will probably go. And
Okay.
learning about people and sharing my knowledge. So when I go travel to do SEO talks, again, best of both worlds. So that is my absolute favorite thing to do.
That's amazing, I believe, and that should help in doing international SEO as well, right? Because that's how you learn about the localization. I believe localization is a very important part of international SEO, and definitely we'll discuss that in deep further. But yeah, that should definitely help, right? So you
Exactly.
mentioned, yeah, yeah, and you mentioned that a lot of people, again, a lot of people wants to go internationally because they want to broaden their
Mm.
market, bring on more sales from different countries, but you mentioned a lot of people do it in a wrong way, right? So what are the major challenges that you have seen that clients do while broadening their market in internationally?
Great question. So, real life example, a lot of companies, even the ones that have SEO knowledge, they think that no research needs to be done before the expansion. So they think I will expand and then I will do SEO. But actually,
Okay.
that's not where the international strategy starts. It starts the second you think of expanding, even without doing anything. So when you've got a business, say it's based in the UK and the US right now, and you want to go into 5 new countries, you go to an SEO specialist and you tell them what you want to do, and then they will do an audit for you to see if it's even worth it. Because I'm sure, as you would know, a lot of the time you don't want to go into Spain because there's not enough conversion intent, not enough value in that market. So an SEO specialist will build out an international SEO strategy to save you funds in the long run by saving you, say, 5 or 6 countries that you don't want to waste your time and money on, and direct you into the highest value markets internationally.
Right, right. I believe amazing insight here, because now this is something that I recently, like I recently faced is, so there was one client who wants to broaden or who wants to expand, but the
Mm,
problem was they wanted to expand in English language in
mm,
countries like Singapore or other
mm,
countries where English
mm,
speaking people are very low. So I
mhm.
believe that is also another aspect that everyone should look into when they are planning to expand the website. That the language that you are preferring, and and where you want to expand in particular region, that there should be people who should be speaking more about that. The percentage of that language speaking people in that particular country should be more. It shouldn't be less, because then it doesn't make sense to expand and bring more traffic from that, right?
That's absolutely right. So again, as part of that process, you need to see, A, do you want to go into that country at all? B, exactly like you said, am I going into this country in English, or
Right.
should I go in their native language? Because that matters a lot. A lot of the time, well, search itself is predominantly English. So English search is stronger than any other language, unless you try Yandex or
Right.
Baidu or something.
Yeah.
But I can go into the Singapore market in English, but again, that's another localization bit. What kind of English? There's 3 types of English variations. You can have Australian English, American English, British English, and that will all impact things. We can uncover this more as we go, but you can imagine how much work goes into it. That's why no one wants to do it.
Yeah. True. True. No, I believe it's true. And again, different type of English itself is there. And then the major challenge that I see is people tend to choose the wrong direction as well, because there are 3 to 4 different ways from which you can expand internationally, right? The subdomain way, the CCTLD way,
Mhm.
subdirectory way. Can you help us understand that if someone has to expand internationally, what are the ways they should go, and which one you prefer the most?
Yeah, that great question. One of my favorite ones. So obviously you've got CCTLDs, so country code top level domains, and an example is Amazon.ca, so
Yeah.
Amazon Canada. Subdomain, it's famous company Trip.com, so where you book flights and hotels.
Right.
So they employ the subdomain structure, and that is uk.trip.com. So
Right.
slightly different from the CCTLD. You've got the subdirectory, which is apple.com/fr, for example. And that is, well, I'll explain that in a second. And last but not least, you've got the parameters, which we won't touch upon because they are dying out. So parameters are kind of dynamic URLs which adjust themselves. They're kind of in the same realm as geo IP redirect, but people don't use them anymore because they're way too finicky. So there's 3 main types of structures that you can go for your international strategy. Now you've got CCTLDs, so that is an individual domain for each place. So for the client that I gave you the example of that had, 95 countries, so they had 95 different websites, and
Okay.
so they had 95
Nice.
separate, yeah, country
Right.
code top domains. It was horrendous. It was absolutely crazy. So what that structure, it's good because you have a very strong local signal. So obviously the domain is quite strong. So Amazon.ca, Amazon Canada, can't get that wrong. We're in Canada. but it starts to fall apart a little bit if you are trying to go into many, many countries, because A, really expensive because resource, B, there's no, autonomous dashboard where you can manage all of these things. So they're all separate domains and
Okay.
you have to treat them as separate entities. The authority between them, there is none, because they're separate domains. So the authority is not consolidated in the slightest. You've got a
Okay.
subdomain. There is some consolidation. Obviously, it's still all part of the main domain, but it's
Right.
it's still diluted to an extent. Um, People opt, so the subdomain people would also sometimes be the ccTLD people. And my absolute favorite and my preferred, so I'm not going to say favorite, my preferred one is the subdirectory. So this
Okay.
one, you consolidate the domain authority. So what you have is, say, 95 subdirectories, so subfolders that all sit under one domain. And that is very good for an SEO person because you get to manage all of those different locations at once. The only issue with a subdirectory is obviously the server response times. So you've got one
Yeah.
domain. Let's take countries that are like super far away from each other. So New Zealand and America. So they're,
Okay.
well, I think they're really far from each other. I'm pretty sure they are. So when you're trying to get a quick response for all of those subfolders, you need to
Mhm.
make sure to use a CDN. So
Mm.
that's a content delivery network. So that's quite an issue that we get, because sometimes you're like, well, my French websites need to load well in France. My New Zealand websites need to load well in New Zealand. So you have to have a CDN.
Right.
But that's really the biggest problem we've seen. The first two, they're very good for larger corporations, and this is beyond SEO. So I know that I think that life is all about SEO. I know other people don't, but businesses also need to focus on structure and management and autonomy, what I mentioned before. So say you've got a franchise in the UK that manage the UK ccTLD, right?
Right.
And you've got another team in India that they can't, you can't put that in a subfolder because that's two completely different entities.
Right.
So
Right.
from a broader business perspective, it's better to have a subdomain or a ccTLD. So it has to be a very nuanced understanding of everything that's beyond SEO as well. But in terms of structures, those are the three main types, and my preferred one, easiest to work with in my opinion, is the subdirectory.
Right. And I believe it's more towards, management or overall as a marketing department or overall at a company level department decision as well, because you can't
Mhm,
just rely on SEO for that. Because like if we select CCTLD as the way forward, it could, lead to lot of work, lot of efforts, managing lot of things. So again,
mhm,
but from SEO standpoint, definitely I agree that subdirectory should be a best option because you have little less work there
mhm.
and any links that you build or anything that you do for your root domain, you have that opportunity to get the value out of it for each of the subdirectories,
Exactly,
and opposite to that, for subdomains or ccTLDs you don't have that because like they both get treated as different entities together, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, no, amazing point, Kira, that you made. So, moving ahead, one of the question that I had, and of course, from my past, I've also done international SEO for 12 different websites, and the
Mhm,
major problem that I used to face was like how to get things translated, right? Because let's say if there are populations sitting in Spain, and
mhm.
so like how to get content translated to Spanish because translator sucks there, right? I mean, honestly, like what should be the solution there? Because if some client wants to expand that, they can't get like localized person to be in each of the countries. They will be going to one specific agencies, but how to solve this problem then? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, that is a great question, and I want to preface this by saying that So I always say that you need to have dedicated translators, which I still stand by, but you need to remember that you only really need to focus really hard on those money pages. So
Okay.
you don't have to, because an SEO strategy is not site wide, it's landing page based. So say you're trying to get into the Spanish market, I don't know, you're selling cleaning services, like the best
Okay.
cleaning services in the world going into Spain. So you have your say commercial cleaning landing page.
Okay.
You don't use Google Translate. You should not do that. That is an absolute result killer because the translation is incorrect. It's not culturally appropriate for whoever's reading it. And your question, well, if say you pay an agency to do this, they're not going to have an in-house specialist for all of this. The reason why international SEO is so expensive is because you always have a network of translators in those countries, and they shouldn't just be translators, they need to be trans creators, which means that you appropriate the language and the cultural norms to those translated pages. And there's no shortage of people like that. Like, all an agency has to do is post on LinkedIn, maybe wait a week or two, scout people, look at their references for trans creation, and you've got these. There's so many talented people. So I don't think agencies should ever feel like they can't get them. So, like my agency, we've got a database of almost every country in the world where we
Okay.
pick a translator that we vetted, that we know are reliable and good at their job. So anyone who comes to me right now and says, I want to translate from Patois to Afrikaans, I will find someone to do that for you.
Okay. So I believe that's great. I mean, and translator to trans creator is something that I heard first time. So amazing. But again, so understood your point, and every agency should do that. Have someone vetted at their end, and have the list of at least of the top 10 countries that they are targeting, or like the number of clients they are getting from. At least should have trans creator from each of the countries for sure. No, no, got it, got it. So another like question that I have is, okay, so we have everything sorted right now. Like we decided which way to go forward. Subdirectory is the way. We understood as an agency, I'm talking about, we understood how the content should be translated, how content can be localized. Now, one of the major burning question that all SEOs face is Hreflang tag issues. And before you answer that, I just wanted to let my audience know that Kira has an amazing whole document on Ahreflang tech. It's almost of 30 pages, and I've been through that, and I really got insight, a lot of insights from that, with real life example, with practical implementation things as well. So you should definitely check that out. Yes, Kira, let's go with that.
Hreflang tags, fun, incredibly fun. So it sounds scary, and it is scary, but luckily for us, it's 2024, and there's a lot of really good tools to help you with this. My favorite one, so unless you've got a custom website, which like it happens, but it's rare, you have plugins and tools that you can use to build that hreflang code for you. So if you're on a custom website and you know you really want to do it all yourself, you can use the hreflang builder. So I know the person who built it,
Okay.
and I know the person who owns it now, and they're both lovely people. They walked me through the whole process, and I've got it all set up, and it's a really handy tool. So it takes the stress out of making a mistake, which I think is really good. And there's really no excuse in the best way possible to make a mistake with all the software that we have available. So with Hreflang Builder, I mean, this could be a whole other conversation, but it is really granular in what you want, and it gives you the code and it helps you implement it, and it's really great. And if you're on WordPress, you've got Weglot and you've got WordPress multi-language, which both of them I've used, and I can vouch that they're really solid. So you can just forget about all of this stuff. It's good to know the theory, because if something goes wrong, you're like, well, what could it be? But with things like WordPress multi-language, say you want to expand it to a different country, you just have to install that plugin. You have to choose the translated countries. And when I refer to translated, the thing I'm trying to say is just localized. So I'm not saying translate the language just yet. So you just have variations across your website, and it actually comes up as little flags on your dashboard in WordPress, which is really, really
Right.
lovely, because you can go and edit page by page. You can choose the setting that you want. If you want to auto translate, the answer is no, you don't want that, but it is an option.
Okay.
So all of that has been kind of built for you. But in terms of Hreflang itself, just a little bit of context on what it is. It's just a little attribute that is used to specify the language and the regional targeting of a web page. So it really helps with duplication issues and canonicalization issues. So it really tells Google that this page belongs to one entity, even though it could be potentially similar, and it's targeting all of these different countries. So what it does is it helps you direct your content and serve the correct version of a web page to users based on their language and location. So what you're trying to do is connect your content with its target demographic.
True. And just a pro tip here, for a lot of people, the lang tag that and lag and country code that you use, it should be from the codes that Google suggests, right? So for en dash UK, it's not UK. I have seen a lot of people use UK, but it's GB that we
Yeah.
use. So yeah, you have to use that
Yes.
particular code rather than just just randomly just choosing the words that normally the country chose. But yeah, I have seen that
Yeah.
for a lot of good companies as well. They directly mention en dash uk, but it's not actually uk. You have to mention gb there. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's a easy mistake to make, to be honest. And also on top of that, which is a really great point that you've made, the political regions. So I've seen that people do ENEU, so European Union.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. So political regions are not a thing. Like Benelux, that's Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg. That's
Yes.
that's not a thing. So you have to, and that is also part of my guide. There is websites which I'm sure you've seen because you read it. You can
Yes.
go and
Yes.
check. There's every variation ready for you.
Yep. 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 Yes. So no, great, Kira. I mean, and one of the and I believe even John Mueller has mentioned that this is one of the major topic that a lot of people get confused about. But yeah, very important to understand, and a lot of tools have made things really easier for us. But just to, if you are strategizing anything for your client, you have to understand this nuances as well in terms of href tag. Right.
Absolutely.
Amazing. So moving ahead, so as you mentioned, Kira, that you have worked with a lot of enterprise level clients as well. So what are the major things that needs to be taken care of when you're working for international, in terms of international SEO for an enterprise level clients? Because we have, like, I have worked for a lot of clients, but they were not at an enterprise level. They don't have that much level of URLs on the website, not millions, not in thousands. Of course, they were in 5,000, 10,000 URLs, but not in millions for sure. So for an enterprise level website, what sort of things that needs to be taken care of when they are expanding internationally, basically?
Good question. So one of the big things is if you do have a custom website and you're updating your URLs and you're expanding slash removing, you have to make sure that your hreflang tag structure is still coherent. And
Okay.
what that means is that every version has to reference itself. It has to reference all of its counterparts, and it has to
Okay.
have an X default set in most cases. E-commerce is not always an X default, but in general, you would have an X default as well. If you have an additional country or you have removed a country, but you haven't updated the hreflang structure on a page by page basis, your hreflang will not work. So that is one big thing that we always consider when we're trying to expand, is you need to make sure that whatever you have now is correct, or as correct as you think it is, because as you start growing, the issues start coming up. So it has to be checked really frequently. And obviously, like I said in the beginning, another thing we think about is it worth the expansion? And what do we need to keep in mind from a business perspective? Because when you get to, really big websites or really big high net worth clients, a lot of it is red tape. So that just means we can't do this, can't do that, can't do that. So there's a lot of rules that we need to follow. So we need to kind of make sure that the SEO strategy has everything that we need to make it successful, because at that level you do have to make some guarantees. Like, we can't say, oh, I'll try my best. You have to deliver. If you're saying we're going into Germany, you have to give them a return of at least 10x, otherwise it's not interesting enough. So that's another thing. So with enterprises, it's less SEO, more big business mindset. So the umbrella just grows. So you have to fit like a puzzle into their business, not how I usually like it, that SEO comes in and everyone dances around SEO.
Okay, got it, got it. So again, the question that so jumping to one, so when you were mentioning this, I had couple of things that in my mind, and just wanted to double click on that. In terms of international SEO, right, I believe localization plays a very vital role, right? So if you want, as an SEO expert as well, or as a normal business owner, if you want to expand to Spain, if you want to expand to French, if you want to expand, if from India, if I want to expand to UK as well, I want to
Mhm,
understand how their audience is, how what exactly they like, because you mentioned there are three types of English as well.
mhm.
Like every specific country's customer base is different, their understanding is different, their style of buying the products is different, right? So how anyone sitting in India or anyone sitting in US can understand their nature or like do research? Where can I do that?
So it's actually quite simple to do. It's just that people don't think to do it, which is great, because that means after people watch this, they can all go and learn about the other culture. You can find it on Google Scholar. So
Okay.
Google Scholar, I mean, we all know what Google Scholar is. It's documentation on purchasing behavior of people in a given country. And the best thing is that a lot of the time you find comparisons. So we tend to use America as the comparison. So we know that Americans are slightly more direct. You have to be slightly more confident, slightly more salesy.
Right.
So you always compare when we do our market research. So say you want to compare the US and India, if you're expanding into India, you could find market analysis on the purchasing behavior based on US, India, but you also do a little bit of just reading. You can ask ChatGPT. ChatGPT
Yeah.
is very good for that. And you can watch some YouTube videos as well. So we know that in India, people are, very much into family, into honor, into respect, into honesty. And from that, you kind of build a picture of not what, of how you're going to sell your product or your service. So, like I always say, the landing page could be selling the same thing, but the way you say it, even if it's in English, in both cases, is going to be very different. So all easily available. It's just a Google search away. It's just a YouTube video away. You can find anything you want.
True, true. And I believe that is also adding to that. If you're creating landing pages, if you add their local, because again, what I have seen is, and this is something that I have experienced myself. If you give localized slangs or local, let's say, payment gateways, or if you give payment gateways of local banks, so for any specific countries, if you give them more localized details on their landing pages or their basically subdirectories or websites, they tend to do more. They tend to like buy more. They tend to get on your website more. The trust factor builds right there. So
Absolutely.
what's your take on that?
Absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes both ways. Like if, say in the UK, we use Klarna a lot of the time, we use these like pay per month type things, and also the checkout systems. This is really e-commerce relevant. The checkout system, it all looks the same. So over time, we're primed to trust. You know, it's usually PayPal or it's usually like a certain font or a certain color. So if all of a sudden I get a checkout system when trying to buy something and it's in Arabic, or it's not even in Arabic, but it's got fields because I know in different countries you've got different fields to fill. If
Right.
I see that, that will put me off. So you need to not just the content, you tailor the whole structure of the website, especially for e-commerce. I mean, with e-commerce, it's a whole different beast because you have to have the relevant currency as well and the different,
Exactly.
transactions. So that's an added layer. E-commerce international SEO is even more confusing than just service-based SEO. But you're absolutely right. You know, you want to make people feel safe and you want to
True.
make it common for them. Like you want to make it easy to understand because no one is going to buy something that's really foreign to them. So the goal is really to just make someone comfortable. Every SEO's goal is to convert. I know we say it's just drive traffic, but that's not true. The end goal is to make the sale. So you do whatever you can to make the sale, it's basic psychology a lot of the times.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that insight, Kara. And I believe thank you for answering all the questions very straight and very forward way. Like a lot of people I have seen, they just roam around the answers and don't give the practical insights, but you have
Mhm.
genuinely give that. So you have been through the agency industry. You mentioned that you worked as a writer as well, and now you own your own agency. How's the life going right now, and how it's different from what it was in the past?
Good question. So, how is life as an agency owner? Great. Wouldn't change it for the world. So I mean, I am just over a year into Diary of an SEO. It's grown very fast, uh, primarily because we do very good work for our clients. So it's kind of a testament. Met amazing people and got to do incredible talks. One of them is India in January, which I'm very excited for. And what was the second part of your question? I completely forgot.
Like, how's the life different from the agency world that you had?
Right. Well, time. So a lot of people who don't have their own businesses say, "Oh, I can't wait to have my own business so I can choose my own hours." But when you're a business owner, your hours are 24/7 all the time.
True.
You wake up, you work, it's going to be the last thing I do today before I go to sleep. And that's just the case every single day. So there's a joke going around, I hated working 9 to 5. So now I work 5 to midnight every day instead. So, but it's great. And I think anybody can do it. I know a lot of people feel scared that they won't pull it off, but you never know until you try. So I would always say if you've got the passion for the craft, like SEO, since we're talking about SEO, I think what fuels your business, what fueled my business, is that I saw the way things were working at the places where I worked, and I didn't think it was fair or good enough, and I knew I could do better and I could deliver better. And that's kind of what propels my team and I to deliver really good results. And again, I think, like you mentioned in the beginning, because I've lived in 11 different countries and I speak 3 languages, and I know, or I try to know how the world works. So it's my goal to connect and globalize search. So that's kind of my long-term goal, because English search is great, but global search isn't very good. So part of my agency milestone that I hope will happen one day is that we get to work on something that really helps people get to where they want, even if they're not English speaking.
I believe that's really amazing and such a thoughtful thoughts basically.
Mm.
So yes, thank you, Kira, for accepting the invite. Thank you for joining the podcast, and it was really great and insightful, like talking to you. Yep, all good.
Thank you so much. You're a very good host. Incredible questions. Yeah, well done. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the invite as well.
Thank you, thank you. Just a moment.